For our next concerts, the Nashville Symphony will be showcasing some of their own wonderful musicians, in this case, members of the brass section. We will also showcase our entire low brass section, which is made up of our 3 trombones and tuba. And this is a concerto that Jennifer Higdon wrote for the low brass sections of the Chicago Symphony, Philadelphia Orchestra, and the Baltimore Symphony. But here in Nashville, we're very fortunate that we will be the ones that are going to make the recording for worldwide distribution and showcasing our own members of the Nashville Symphony. And this is a concerto that, as I said, is unusual because it utilizes not only 1 or 2 players, but an entire section from an orchestra. And in the score, Miss Higdon actually also says that the players should not be up front in the normal solo position, that they should play this from their normal place in the orchestra, which is somewhat in the back. So from that point of view, it kind of gives you a sense that they're going to be really showcased, but in some ways they're also a normal part of the very important fabric of an orchestra, which is the low voices in any ensemble. I am particularly excited because this way, in this particular concert, we get to showcase 4 wonderful members of the Nashville Symphony that day in and day out bring the highest level of artistry to every single one of our performances. This concert will also showcase a work by the American composer Hovhaness. And Mr. Hovhaness was known for writing many, many symphonies. At one point in his life, he actually became very acquainted with works by musicians and artists from the Far East. And his music tends to have somewhat of that writing in his compositions. This particular piece is his 2nd symphony, which is also called Mysterious Mountain. And it is a very meditative work that has become, I think, one of the more performed symphonic works from the 20th century by an American composer. It's a work that I have done several times in Europe, but this is actually the first time that I am conducting it here in Nashville. And this is also part of this whole idea that I had regarding the 250th anniversary of Beethoven's birth, which is taking place in 2020, and finding a way of celebrating that appropriately by showcasing symphonic works, and symphonies in this case, of composers that came after Beethoven that were obviously heavily influenced by Beethoven's ghost and Beethoven's artistry. And Mr. Hovhaness was definitely one of them. And even though the piece was written over 100 years after Mr. Beethoven died, you can clearly hear that the structures are very much in place the same way that Beethoven left them when he died.